Before I start this video, I have to bring up a little sad note. This morning, my dad had unfortunately found something very depressing and incredibly disheartening. As if losing one cat this year wasn't enough, some cat, we don't know whose it is, maybe it was a stray, perhaps some poor person has their cat walking around sometimes at night. It was found dead on the street out in front of our next door neighbor Sarah's. She looks after our cats from time to time, or I guess now cat. And yeah, definitely not one of their cats from what I know of, but still, this is incredibly disheartening. Me and my dad had to take care of the body and put it in a trash can that's currently in our backyard. The poor fur baby. It made me cry for a little bit afterwards. I can stomach a lot of things, so after a while I was feeling a little bit grossed out by it. It wasn't a mangled mess, thankfully, but still, it was very much disheartening, very depressing as well. So yeah, dear cat, rest in peace. I really hope that if you do have an owner, whoever you are, if you are watching us right now, I hope you were able to find peace. And I'm very sorry for your loss, incredibly sorry. And I'm also very sorry that if you do have, if this is your cat, perhaps, or was, I should say, we're sorry that we probably have gotten rid of the body before you would probably figure it out by then. Because it's currently in a trash can behind our house right now, but obviously doesn't get taken by Tuesday morning or so. Poor kitty. Poor thing. Poor little fur baby. Also, my dad said it looked like our cat Gracie, but that's inaccurate. The cat we found was black with some brown, kind of monkey shine looking, while our cat is gray with a little bit of darker grays. That's basically it. I'm kind of wrong. I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, off to a lighter note, but a much more annoying route than depressing, but also involves a cat. How weirdly coincidental. The Tom and Jerry movie. And, well, let's just get into this. I just want to say that when this movie was first getting revealed and announced and there was trailers and posters being put up, I remember seeing a big poster put up on a little display thing at the theater when me and my parents and my godfather Jeff all went down to Ohio to go see Wonder Woman 2, which was great, by the way. I really enjoyed myself, like I do with most theater experiences, Boss Baby excluded. Even then, that's kind of debatable. But yes, this movie was on display back then, along with Sing 2 and other things. Man, this movie's not a great year for animated films now, is it? Some of the better things look nice, like whatever Luke is going to be really like, and maybe Mitchell's versus the Machines. I've heard some great stuff, heard some mediocre stuff, I don't know. But as for this movie, it's pretty much unanimously accepted by most people that it is pretty bad, with the exception of a lot of audience members, but yet again, that's just kind of the general public and not people who actually think of the insights of a film. I would probably be bored to death with this movie if I were to see it as a kid. And yeah, Tom and Jerry does not really have the best track record when it comes to films. There was the original film from, I don't know, the 90s or something, maybe beforehand, that Nostalgia Critic tackled. And yeah, is that film good? No, not as terrible as it may seem thanks to Nostalgia Critic's video, but still, at least Tom and Jerry are integrated into the story pretty alright at times, though they are very much sidelined, and that's where the problem comes from. Plus, there's some nice music, and some parts of the animation are alright. Other than that, yeah, I think that film is actually an improvement over this thing. And I say thing because I don't even know if this can really be called a film, because it's such a mess. Wow. Well, first off, with the story, actually, no. I saw the problems with this movie coming out way before it actually, got released to the public. With any live action cartoon animated hybrid, they always turn out to be huge messes, i.e., the Woody Woodpecker film, at least the first Scooby Doo film, uh, Yogi Bear, and of course the most notorious ones, Garfield, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and the Smurfs. Oh, and Peter Rabbit as well, which is also getting a sequel this year. This trend I thought was dead at this point. We did get the nice Sonic movie, which I have not yet seen. Don't say anything about it, please, people. But yet again, people are often debating whether or not Detective Pikachu is any good, and yeah, I've had my doubts as well. Honestly, this trend is just messy, and people need to stop attempting to make good films out of it. Sonic may be the exception, but I've yet to see it, though I've heard mostly pretty good stuff about it. But is this film possibly an exception to the norm? Is it any better? And some aspects are definitely better. As for other things, no, definitely not. Whether it be the awful acting from various actors in this film, man, that sounds weird, or various poorly integrated parts of the story, or various other details that kind of tick me off, this film is definitely a mess. So, what is it about? Well, Tom and Jerry are, again, definitely not the main focus. It's always like the main role that you gotta get right, and they always screw it up. It's actually about some random blonde chick who's played by Chloe Grace Moretz, and you're probably wondering, wait, what? Chloe Grace Moretz, who's that from? Apparently, she's from, I believe, some movie called Kick Ass, which I've yet to see, and also the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. So yeah, I am familiar with this actor, and does she do a good job in that movie? Yes, she does. But in this film, her acting is unbelievably wooden. She constantly sounds like she's being held up at gunpoint at times, and it's just awkward. Also, something funny is that in the trailers, thumbnails for some of these, you know, clips and everything like that for this movie before it came out, one of the thumbnails is like her expression, and it looks like the most lifeless looking thing I've ever seen. It's hilarious. But that has nothing to do with the actual film itself, just something funny that I see a lot of animated movie trailer thumbnails do. They just look incredibly off. That, or they're just trying to be as funny as random or whatever as possible, like they did with the Sing trailers. But just everything about this film just annoys me. And as for the actual story, like I said, it's about this Chloe Grace Moretz character trying to find a job. I think she got like rejected at the beginning of the film or something. My brain is kind of completely fried from this mess. And she's gotten this job by some dirty ways that she almost doesn't even get called out for, it seems, in order to work at this fancy hotel in New York City. Yes, this movie takes place in New York City. Oh, yes. Welcome back, Smurfs, my arch nemesis. But yeah, she basically has this job in the hotel now, and during so, there's a big wedding of the century or whatever going on, and she wants to, be acquired so that she could be the one who's like in charge of this big project or something. Remember when this was a movie about Tom and Jerry? Oh yeah, about them. So there's like a scene or whatever in the trailers and the film and stuff like that and all where it seems like they may actually start to become friends and stuff. And then the rivalry continues throughout the rest of the film, which obviously is what people come for. If they acted like friends with one another, it would definitely be a mess. Am I right, original Tom and Jerry movie? Anyways, yeah, they end up in this hotel, and Tom is eventually hired in order to get rid of Jerry, who's causing problems with the hotel, obviously. Obviously, any hotel that would be this fancy would have a problem with having mice in there. So obviously, they have Tom going after him. But earlier throughout the film and various other moments of the film, they just make Tom and Jerry just seem incredibly unlikable. And you may think, oh, that's the whole point because, they're their rivals and everything like that. They're supposed to be that way, or at least Tom is. No. Whether it be Tom pretending to be blind so that he can gain sympathy points from people so that they will give him money so that he can, get a living off of that or whatever. Or even Jerry going around the hotel stealing stuff and then giving it back to others just simply so that he can get what he wants. Like, Jesus Christ, people, can you just be a little bit nicer to one another? And I say people when it's referring to the mice and the cats or whatever. Speaking of which, on a side note, there are other things about this film besides just the story. But I might as well finish the story while I'm at it. The story itself is, again, like I said, a mess. And it's incredibly overly complicated and a snore to get through. And there are various other aspects like messing up the wedding, and so many scenes are just set pieces for Tom and Jerry to mess up, which I guess makes sense, but a lot of them are poorly handled, like, oh look, a drone with a remote control, hopefully that doesn't get into the hands of the wrong people, or look at this giant glass ceiling above them, oh boy, is that gonna break? I hope not. It's just incredibly predictable, and this ruins a lot of the comedy that isn't really about just Tom and Jerry themselves. And yeah, about Tom and Jerry themselves, boy, there's a lot to say about this. First of all, the animation itself, hot dang, it's quite nice. It's not always perfect, but yeah, I do like the animation itself. The problem is that it's poorly integrated into the live action environments at times. Some of them look nice, but other times it looks off, like a cat jumping into Chloe Bridges, you know who, the main character's grasp or whatever, and it just does not look right. Some of the live action environments don't really interact with the animated characters properly, whether it be the lighting or it looks like the characters who are, live action not really interacting with the characters themselves properly. It just looks incredibly off and indistinguishable at times when you're supposed to notice the contrast, when other times it just looks off in the wrong ways. And Yeah, it's not just Tom and Jerry themselves, but also cats, Spike, and even the fish that are taken out, you know, loaded up to be eaten and everything. Yeah, everything that's an animal is animated. And I actually really like this. Thank goodness they actually did this. At times it's a bit weird and does make you question the rules of this world. Like, why aren't the humans like this? But whatever. At least it's better than having a dog that's animated and a dog that's not animated. Am I right? The Garfield movie? Oh, wait, no, that was a cat. Never mind. But yeah, the animation itself is kind of a mixed bag in ways, despite the actual animation being quite nice. And as for other things like the actual quote unquote comedy, the slapstick is nice in places, and sometimes it could be alright. It's not really laugh worthy at times, and a lot of it is just stale. Some of it is reference based, like Batman, for example. But some of it is, again, passable. The only problem is that a lot of it is just kind of stolen from classic Tom and Jerry, which you may think, oh, well, that just means it's like referencing classic stuff, but there's no unique spin on it, so it's just kind of repeating the same stuff at times and just gets snore to watch. Again, like a lot of stuff, I don't think that these two characters really fit into a feature length film properly because they're reduced to short little intervals, aka little episodes, for a reason. Studios never really learn, do they? Plus, of course, there's plenty of other comedy in the film that isn't just slapstick, and this is the actual bad comedy. Whether it be Chloe Bridges trying to be funny, which does not work, or anything Michael Pena, Isla Pena, you know, the guy from Ant-Man and stuff. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, whether it be Instabook Face or Tiki Talk, no, just no, please, just stop. And obviously, it's not just Chloe. I keep wanting to say Chloe Bridges. Chloe Grace Moretz's acting that's bad, but most of the other actors do a pretty bad job. Aside from, I believe, the hotel owner or manager or whatever, he's clearly able to tell that he's in a stupid kids film, and I don't use that term lightly, by the way. So he just goes full out with the insanity of his acting, just kind of acting as cartoonish as possible, and I like that. More acting like that, not the wooden, bland, forgettable acting that most of the other people do. Also, Ken Jeong is in this too, by the way. Come on, Ken Jeong, you can be in good stuff. Like Endgame, for example, you had that little cameo. Why can't you be in, good kid stuff? Take a hint from your role from Norm of the North. Oh, God. Ugh. That, and there's plenty of other things I can't stand. A lot of it is small stuff, whether it be a fish looking at the hotel manager or whatever. I can't remember who it was exactly. The cat. I keep saying cat. The fish was looking at. But there's these little thought bubbles that pop up from time to time, and a lot of them are just distracting. Some of them are like giant pieces of text or whatever that are going on in the background that are just reflective of what the character is saying to another character. That just looks weird and it's distracting. That, and like I said, the fish has a little thought bubble, and what does it think? A poop emoji. Yeah, this movie definitely is trying hard to be cool and hip with the kids now, isn't it? And there's plenty of other things like the movie opening with rapping pigeons, and Tom flossing. Okay, you know what? I'm getting kind of tired of this. Can we just move on to another film or whatever? I'm kind of sick and tired of talking about this lame ass film. Let's just try to wrap this up as soon as possible. Let me think. What else happened in this movie? Oh yeah, the wedding gets screwed up, and there's a whole ending sequence, and you know what? That's it. Let's just move on already. Also, something funny I noticed is that the director of this movie is a guy named Tim Story. Too bad the actual story of the film isn't actually good, despite it being directed by Tim Story. How funny is that? But yeah, this movie is just a mess. And if wondering to myself, or you're wondering to yourself, is this better or is it worse than the terrible, god awful Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie? Considering that film's quality, it's less enjoyable, I'll say that. This film is a lot more, I'd say, boring at times, because that film is at least insanely, insultingly bad at times, to the point where it's kind of like Shark Tale in a certain way. Well, this movie feels more like the Smurfs or Shrek the Third. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. So yeah, this movie, for the most part, is mediocre or bad in places. And a lot of the stuff I just wish could be better, because, again, a Tom and Jerry movie could work if you just handle it correctly, but it's such a fine line to walk on, and a lot of filmmakers would definitely fumble it. I can't say that I'd make the best film out of anything, to say the least, but still, I think even I could do a better job, because at least I'd avoid putting in stuff like TikTok jokes or whatever in the film, at least. Make it at least a little bit more tolerable. But yeah, you want to know who likes this movie? Some people I can respect the opinion of. Just give me some good reasons, at least. Also, it's worth mentioning that my friend Anime LPS, Freak of Nature, she went to go see this film, or at least she said she did a while back. I don't know anything else about that experience, but Anime, if you're watching this, please tell me more about your experience. I'd be curious to know. Did you like the film? Did you hate it? Was there a screaming kid behind you who wouldn't stop kicking your seat? Please tell me more. I'm curious. But yeah, other than that, want to know who dislikes this movie? Me, and plenty of other great people such as Cell Specs, Saber Spark, LS Mark, and I believe Daz Reviews. I can't recall if he's made a video on this or not. I've kind of forgotten. A lot of these videos just kind of blend together. Mostly because a lot of these almost a Disney live action remakes. A lot of these cartoon hybrid live action animated films or whatever just blend together as well. So yeah, this movie just kind of sucks, to be honest. Can't say I'm surprised though. Oh, and one other funny thing. The walk cycles of the animation for, the cats or whatever in the alleyway, that looks hilarious. I don't know why. You guys should go watch that clip for yourself and just save your time otherwise and not watch the rest of this piece of filth. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this movie. End of rant.